Hello again.
Hi.
So, so we jumped into this on a wing and a prayer, no plan at all. And we just recorded one episode. We're starting the second episode. And as I was opening the links to join our Zoom, I saw some really strong confirmation and really exciting confirmation in the terms of numbers. So the first link that you sent to me was at 808. Eight is the number of infinity and it's the number of financial abundance. And the second link you sent to me was at 855. And 55 is the number of change, big change. So, are you ready for some big abundant changes in your life? Because I am. And I think we're destined for it because the signs are there and they're beautiful. They're everywhere. But
Oh my,
those were really fun to see.
that's so cool. That is so cool. It feels like this stuff happens a lot when we're together, but that's a really cool confirmation. Yeah.
Oh, it could have been any time. It could have been 807. It could have been 854. But it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Not an
100%.
accident.
100%. And I love talking to you about angel numbers because you have so much experience with them, as far as just understanding what they mean, and because you did so much research back in your early kind of spiritual awakening process. You were
Yes.
trying to look for answers and stuff like that. And I loved to hear all of those things that you shared with me about,
So
yeah,
numbers are the language of the universe. Like there are so many different languages and so many different sounds in the world, but the language of the universe is numerical. It's in everything. And the universe is always trying to communicate with us. The angels and spirits are always trying to communicate with us and give us messages. And many people see angel numbers. I had never seen them. And then when I started seeing them, I felt something in my body and it was really strong energy. So I would see the number on the clock and I would feel something in my body. And that had never happened to me before. When I looked at a clock, or when you look at a license plate or a receipt, wherever there's numbers, if there's multiple numbers, it's sending you a message. And it's been really fun for me to explore and learn what those are. And today is November 1st, which is 11/1, which is 111. And ones are the number of new beginnings. I just think that's so cool that we're
it's
beginning today on 111. Like, I didn't even know we were going to talk today, this
I didn't
morning. I haven't
either.
talked to you in over a
No,
year. And so
no.
we are. And I love how the universe can surprise and delight us in these ways. And we find ourselves in places that we didn't even imagine or plan for.
And I think it's so cool that we decided to play. We were talking on the phone. We didn't go into our hyper vigilant, control. I'm speaking for myself, control freak mode, where I want to plan everything out and have a nice little schedule of, things to do. We decided to play. And I think that's really the key to this. I mean, we're having a really good time. We're not overthinking this.
Yeah.
It feels really in alignment because it feels so light and fun and easy and exciting, like we're just having a conversation right now. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, I do too. And we can just feed off each other because our conversations that we've had on the phone have always been so amazing. And I think that's where the most organic information can come from and the flow can happen. And we can get
Absolutely.
into that flow and just kind of be on the ride and not be trying to paddle this way and paddle that way and make it go to according to some plan. We can
Right.
just have a conversation.
Because none of this makes sense, right? I mean, none of it makes sense. So why should we try to make this make any sense? And I
Exactly.
get to do enough of that in my day job. So I don't want to do that here. Let's just have fun. And I think it took us some time and it's divine timing too. We talked about doing this stuff like we were talking about earlier 2 years ago, but we weren't ready. We weren't in this frame where we had to kind of go through a little bit more of the trenches and see what we really love to see how we can come at this in a different way. That's more light and fun and easy. Um,
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
sure. So, what are some spiritual signs that you see or feel or hear? How does the universe speak to you?
Early on, there was a lot of birds that I noticed, like eagles and hawks and even crows and things like that, but mostly like the bigger birds like eagles and hawks. And I was seeing them so often when I was living up north in Canada,
Mm,
when I was going through after my big experience and started really feeling connected and going through the whole spiritual awakening process. I was noticing so much that I started looking them up and looking into the meaning of them. And that was just so enlightening because it always resonated for me in that moment. And it was always, some of them were around new beginnings and new changes and um, being sort of setting yourself apart, not feeling so attached to the mainstream. I'm paraphrasing, but it was more, I don't want to say like leadership, but it was more like go your own way, pave your own trail kind of thing. Um,
I
and
love
yeah. And I know you saw a lot of bird symbols.
birds. Same as you. Not so many eagles, but a lot of hawks. And I've always had bird feeders, so all the garden birds like bluebirds and blue jays and cardinals and um, all the garden birds. And they are that birds in my mind are really special because they they are part of the earth and the sky, and they kind of bridge the gap in between, and they're part of both worlds, the physical world and the spiritual world. And seeing those birds just help me really feel connected to the spiritual world while I'm here on earth. And I loved finding feathers of birds. Anytime I would find a feather, I would feel really excited to find a feather, and I felt like it was an angel, just letting me know they were there, they were with me. I found a hawk feather um, on a day after a really tragic event, and it was so meaningful to me. It's rare to find one. I haven't found very many in my lifetime, and I just looked down. It was in my backyard, and it's just really cool to find feathers and to see birds. And recently, I have been seeing more eagles. I was in the car with Gracie the other day, and we were stopped at a stoplight, and one landed on the light pole right above us. And then I was driving on San Jose, and two eagles, two bald eagles were circling together. So I'm interested to see what bald eagles mean. You probably know more than me because you saw a lot more of them.
I'm having so much fun right now because I feel like I'm telepathically asking you questions because I was literally sitting here going, what does a bird mean to you? That was my next question. And then you just totally went into that story. And I'm like, this is so fun. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if we're,
Yes, we
fun to
are.
think about. We have those funny things that we do sometimes together that are funny like that. Um, I don't know, to me, and I'm not looking it up or anything, I think in my, eagle, if I think of an eagle, I think of freedom. I think of
Yes.
freedom. And
Yes.
when they start appearing in your life, I think maybe that means that it's just nudging you in that direction, because nudging in that direction, or it's maybe foreshadowing what's to come. That's how I like to think of it, because it gives you it gives you a little bit of, um, I don't know, excitement, something to look forward to, that you're on the right path. It kind of helps confirm how you're feeling. Like, wow, I'm seeing a lot of eagles, and I've been feeling this urge to feel more free. And I was curious, I was going to ask you about freedom because I know how it feels for me, but I'm curious for you. We both talked about this. Freedom to you, what does that mean to you? And why do you think it comes up for us when we're going on this journey? How it feels that strong pull for wanting to feel free and sovereign. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah. So what we we really are trying to do is develop our sense of who we are and what makes us happy and joyful. And having the freedom to wake up and feel like going feel really like I want to go for a walk on the beach, but I can't because I have to get in the car and drive to work. Feels like a prison. And I'm grateful for work. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate everything it provides, but I don't feel free. I would feel free if I could go for a walk on the beach and then come back and have a cup of coffee and hang out with my kids and bake some sourdough and, you know, do whatever the day led, and the freedom to be able to follow those nudges without having to be at a job 8 to 12 hours a day. That's a long time. And so what you're left with at the end of that day is enough time to eat, sleep, and start it all over again. And freedom to me would be able to have a source of income where I could work, 4 to 6 hours a day and be able to follow the feelings throughout the rest of the day.
Oh, that's beautifully said. That's beautifully said. And I feel the same way. I think I've always probably had the urge for freedom, but really didn't know what that meant. I always just felt like maybe I'm not meant to do this kind of thing because I always felt trapped in most of the jobs I've had, except for ballroom dancing. That was actually really fun. Um, but yeah, when you start to awaken a little bit more to who you really are, deep, you start to sort of align into that your higher self starts speaking through you, and you start feeling all these different feelings where you were programmed to sort of go along with what society tells you is the right thing to do. And you're also programmed from fear because doing anything outside of what society has taught us is safe and normal and kind of your societal duty to work and pay taxes and do your thing and all that stuff. Um, when we start to sort of stray from that path, it feels very lonely. It feels very scary. It feels very uncertain because we're stepping into the unknown. We're stepping into a place we don't know if this is going to work. We don't know if this is going to succeed. And definitely our bank accounts aren't showing the, prosperous life that we've envisioned for ourselves yet because we're just starting. Um, so then what I don't know about you, but for me, I've tried to juggle starting sort of these new things while I'm working, but work drains a lot of that vital energy that I need to be creative. Like I don't even have the energy to really feel creative after I get home from a crazy, work day.
Yeah, that has
Um,
been really humbling for me too, because I've always juggled a lot and done a lot. And I'm seeing the limitations of that too. I get home from work and I have 10 more things that I wanted to do, all the fun things, and there's no energy for them. I'm going to bed and I'm just getting up and working again. And that starts to feel, it just starts to feel like it's frustrating that you don't know how you're going to get there.
yeah. It's like Groundhog Day, the same day repeating itself over and over and over and over again.
And you're
Like,
trying to change it and
yeah,
you're stepping out and trying these things to change it, but at the same time, you still have to keep, like you said, the food on the table, the lights on. I have 4 children that I'm supporting, so I I can't just do what feels good to me. I have to be responsible, and I'm grateful to be able to provide for them. However, I want to spend more time with them, so it's really a double-edged sword. I'm
mhm,
grateful to provide for them, but the work takes me from the time that I want to spend with them,
mhm.
and time is the most valuable thing to me. So I'm really, really wanting the freedom to spend more time with my family.
I 100% agree with you there. And I think when we sort of went our own ways after we reconnected after 2 years, which is fully the plan. It was 100% in the plan to get us back together. We both were talking a big game about what we wanted to do, all these fun ideas. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have a crystal shop. We're gonna have a podcast. We were thinking about all these different ideas. We had no idea how to bring them into fruition, how a partnership would look, who was gonna do what. We were overthinking everything, as opposed to just looking at like, okay, let's just collaborate and figure it out. But then we realized that reality sort of kicked in. And it was like, if I want abundance, I'm going to have to work my ass off to get it because clearly none of this other stuff is working, or I can't figure out how to make it work. So we both kicked into full hustle mode,
Yep.
hustle our asses off again after we kind of knew that wasn't what we wanted to do, but we sort of both did exactly what we said we didn't want to do anymore because that's what we knew. That's all we know. We know that if we work our asses off, that will produce the results.
Yeah.
At what cost? You know,
Yeah.
at what
Exactly.
cost? And the hustle culture is so
Oh,
real. And I think people glamorize this hustle like, oh man, I work 60 hours a week and stuff like that. That is not living, in my personal opinion. I mean, some people may be happy with that kind of setup, but I don't know what you have to
yeah. I
say.
think it's dying though. Do you talk to younger people who are not buying the lie that we
The
bought?
younger people are starting to see it. I did encounter I went on one interview with a startup that said my hours were going to be 60 hours a week. And I was like, I will talk to you later. Thank you. Have a great
Yeah.
day. You know, no, thank you very much. Okay. So, but that's most of the kids these days, they don't even want to work 40 hours a week. They're more
No.
like, because they've seen their peers do it differently and succeed. They've seen the different ways that you can do this. There's creative ways to make a living where you don't have to hustle and push and strive and things like that.
Yeah, there are, and they were born into a different world. They were born into a world that already had technology, so they're in tune with it in a different way than I am at my age. And they they didn't have a lot of the struggles that we had growing up, so they don't have some of the same programming. They they just are different, so they are really hopefully going to forge a different path. I really think that both the education system and the work life balance that we have in the United States needs to be 100% changed, especially the education system.
Oh,
So hopefully we'll start to see those things happen.
yeah, 100%. Because I think people can agree and I won't say after the pandemic, people really got to see what it was like to not have to hustle and strive and push when they were forced, to chill the F out. A
Yeah,
lot of people were grateful enough to be able to work from home. Some people, some of their jobs, they had to shut them down. I don't know how it was for you, but I think people really woke up to the fact that like, I don't really want to go back to the way that things were before. This isn't right. Something doesn't sit right with me here, you
yeah,
know? Yeah. And so freedom is just a byproduct of the times right now. I think a lot of people are feeling this push, especially our younger generation. And I think it's possible. And where I'm going with this is in my own experience, I spoke to a psychic and I asked, because I love them, I love them a long time, maybe a little too much. Um, but I spoke to a psychic and asked her, what is the deal? Why can't I just do it? Why can't I figure out what I want to do and just do it head on and, with all this stuff? Why can't I change and go on this other journey and this path? And she simply just said, it's fear. That's all that it is. It's fear. Okay, well then how do I stop? How do I stop feeling fear? And she said, live in the present moment every single day. That's it. Because looking too far ahead, looking too far behind is not going to serve you if you're committed to living a life that's different. One little baby step at a time, and just look at where you're at in that present moment, and that's it. And that's why I think it was so cool that you and I just said, we're just going to do this. We're just going to jump in and start doing this shit. And now here we are.
yeah. Today's the day. Today's the present moment. Right now is the present moment. This is where all our power is, right here, right now. I
Mhm.
don't know what will happen tomorrow, but right now we're here together and we're doing this, and it's a really cool thing. And being fearful of tomorrow or being regretful of yesterday doesn't serve us at all. But I know what you mean because I feel the same frustration in the day. You know, when I in the day and I get home late, my kids are asleep and I haven't gotten to see them, that's frustrating for me. So it really is a mindset of just trying to stay present and have that picture in my mind of what I want and feel the feeling in my body of what that's going to feel like and trust the process that it's coming. I don't know how it will come. I don't know what it will look like. I believe that that desire is not in my heart because I can't have it. I believe the desire is in my heart because I can have it. And I just have to be willing to stay present and stay grateful and do that again and again and again every single day.
Yes, 100%. And one thing that you said, you come home from work and you see you want to spend more time with your kids. You may have, you've had a really long day, or you want to do these other things. You want to be able to create and do some fun things that serve a higher purpose and things like that. Just don't maybe have the energy for them. But um, one thing I heard recently was, and I don't remember exactly the quote, so I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's something like, we have to actually do the things that we absolutely kind of hate in the beginning, and it's kind of like wake up in the morning, go to the gym and all that stuff. But sort of doing things that maybe push us a little outside of our comfort zone in the beginning to set us up. Um, to set
Yeah.
us up in the future. And I don't really remember the exact phrase because we're doing this kind of off the cuff, but that's kind of where I'm at right now as far as how is this going to work? Here I am thinking ahead. Um,
So part of, yeah, and part of that theory is okay. So 2 years ago when we talked about this, um, we didn't do it. So maybe that's why we're not where we want to be. So by doing it and doing it when we're tired and doing it when we don't feel like it, but doing it because we want to change things is the walk that we're stepping into now.
it's called delayed gratification, right? That's something that is very unfamiliar. I mean, it's not super familiar for me because I like to see results pretty quickly, but I'm learning. I'm learning that about myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, thinking ahead, like a year from now, like if I do this stuff, think about how grateful I'll be for what I'm doing now, whatever that may be, like us doing these videos, whatever it may be. But it's like delaying that gratification for a later outcome. That's the only way I can really make sense of it now, unless a miracle occurs out of the blue
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
win the lottery and we're able to just do whatever we want to do.
Yes. Why haven't we won the lottery?
I know, right? Because we've been doing all our manifestation work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe this is what we were meant to manifest and um we're just going to enjoy the journey of this. It doesn't have to be for any purpose other than to share our experience and learn more and explore more. And by talking about it, we relearn it again. And it's doesn't have to be anything more than that. And that serves a purpose that's, I think, rich and deep and powerful.
Totally.
Um, Whenever I have conversations with people, it seems to be a very powerful experience. And in my heart, like I'm a, I'm a, I deal with appointments one-on-one in my work, and I see the transformation that happens to people when I'm with them and when they are doing the work and when they're growing. And my heart is to help more people grow. I mean, I can only meet with so many people a day,
Mhm.
but if videos can reach, you know, more people, then that would achieve my goal of helping more people become the best version of themselves on their journey.
Yeah. And by sharing, you're healing yourself too. It's
Hmm.
like a, mutually beneficial thing. Anytime, like you said, when you were helping out your daughter's friend, you felt amazing. Because,
Yes.
that's the byproduct of it. That's the amazing piece that you're gifted with as well as the person delivering some of the messaging, is you also feel that healing because you actually see the impact that it's making on that person and you feel them shifting and you feel them kind of changing a little bit. And it's more about, there's something so cathartic too about sharing your experience, something that you may have learned along your journey, um, to help another, especially if it was something that you wished, some of the tools that you wish you would have had
Hmm.
along your spiritual journey. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, I wanted to ask you too, like one of the key things that you wish you would have known maybe on your path, like in the earlier phases when you were really searching for answers and felt lost. And I mean, there was a lot of things that you wanted to know, but maybe something that one or two things that you would like to share with people that you wish you would have known at the beginning of your journey.
Hmm. Well, I I wish I had more people to talk to. It was very lonely in the beginning, but I think that's kind of by design because then it's just me and God or me and my spirit guides and angels. And as I came to know them and experience them one on one, it was rich and profound. And most of the spiritual leaders that I listen to and I talk to always try to point me back to my own inner knowing and my own knowledge. They don't really want to necessarily share their perspective on it with me. They want me to find my perspective on it. So I would say if you're starting out on this and you're feeling that same way, you're feeling lonely and you're feeling like you want somebody to ask questions to and understand more, you really do have all the answers if you go within. You get quiet and you get still, and then you hear the message that is specific to you, just meant for you, and it's loud and clear. And then you develop the muscle of that. You're not reaching out to someone for the answers and relying on them only when they're available. You have the connection anytime, any place, anywhere, and you are growing in that way. So that would be, at the time I didn't like it, but now I think it was by design.
Yeah, and I know meditation has also been a big part of your spiritual practice. And I think a lot of times they get overwhelmed with the thought of it, or they're not really sure what that means or what that looks like. I would love to know more about your daily practice.
Love to share that because
Yeah.
I was the girl who could not even keep her eyes closed for a Thanksgiving prayer at Thanksgiving dinner. Like I was like, okay, I gotta keep my, like I never thought I could meditate. I didn't think I could meditate for 30 seconds. And now I could meditate for 2 hours and still want to meditate longer. I don't do that normally because I don't have that much time. But I started with guided meditations, very short, 1 to 5 minute guided meditations. And then I kept listening to YouTube videos from people who taught meditation. So I would take a little tip from this person and a little tip from that person. And the things that really helped me were to get into a quiet, dark place. So I go into my closet. It's quiet and dark. I have a pillow in there. And I breathe in through my nose, way down from like my belly all the way up. I try to bring the breath all the way up and hold it. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold that breath for 6 seconds and blow out slowly through my mouth for 8 seconds. And repeat that 4 or 5 times. And by the time you've done that, you've changed your nervous system and you have kind of opened the pineal gland. And I start to see different colors and I start to see pictures. And then I know I'm kind of clicked in and I begin to just listen. The the goal of prayer is to talk to God, and the goal of meditation is to listen to God or your angels or whoever else. So I just try to let that knowledge come in. And sometimes I'll hold a notebook and a pen And while my eyes are closed, just scribble anything that seems meaningful to me. And then, translate it into my journal later that's legible. But that is pretty much it. It lasts anywhere from now 10 minutes to an hour if I have a good day. But most days it's about 10 to 20 minutes.
So cool. It's awesome to know that you can get really great effects just by doing it like 10 to 20 minutes a day. I know
Yes.
you have done a little bit of coaching for me because most of my experience with meditation has been through guided meditations. And I have dabbled a little bit, just, laying in bed before I go to sleep. I can close down my eyes and really drop into that space. Um, but then I usually fall asleep. But it's interesting to know, like, would you recommend sitting up? I know in my experience, I always fall asleep if I'm laying down, even with the
I do
best of
too. Yeah,
intentions.
I do too. I fall asleep. I
Every
get
single
relaxed and I
time.
go right to sleep.
Yep. So do you normally sit in a chair? How do you normally meditate? I'm curious for my
Normally
own.
I sit on the floor on a cushion in my closet.
Wow. So you can get complete privacy, like
Yeah,
no
darkness.
distraction.
Because when I have the darkness, I can see more because I'm seeing through my third eye, my pineal gland,
Mhm.
and I can see all the lights and all the things. If I meditate outside in the sun, I see lots of colors and pictures still, but they're a lot more vibrant and kind of diluted, whereas the images against the black background for me seem to be a lot more vivid.
That's so cool. I know, I would like to actually do more just meditating without feeling so dependent on a guided meditation. I've really enjoyed doing Dr. Joseph Dispenza's meditations. They are extremely long, the ones that I've done, and they are pretty wild. They're very effective, but you do
They
have to
are.
dedicate like 40 minutes to an hour each time you do it, unless you do some of his shorter ones, um, which are 20 minutes. But the good thing to know is you don't need it. You can do it on your
Don't
own.
need that much time. And he's the one who really kind of helped me understand how meditation worked and what it did. He's got a great YouTube video that explains it and explains what's happening in your body and how the different breath holding and things work. And that's what really changed things for me was that breathing in and holding for 6 seconds and blowing out slowly for 8. I don't know why that's so powerful for me, but it is. And there's a lot of different breathing techniques that work differently for different people. I know you can like one nostril and breathe in one and then breathe out the other. And there's all
Yeah.
kinds of cool stuff that you can do. But that works really well for me. But, explore different ways and see what works for you.
hmm
But
And I
the
know,
feeling that's so powerful to me in meditation that is just why I make it such a priority is because I feel the most unconditional love. It surrounds me, it's within me, it's around me. It just feels amazing. It feels better than anything I've ever experienced. And I've experienced a lot of amazing things. That feels really, really good. And then that from that place is where I enter the day. And my prayer is that that light and love shines through me to the people that I encounter.
that's lovely. And I don't know about you, but when I meditate, I've experienced you show up differently in the world. You
You
show
do.
up completely differently. There's something else operating, like that's operating this whole reality for you. You're
Like
showing
you've
up.
plugged yourself into the
Yeah,
power source and now you're connected.
exactly. You're more compassionate, you're more patient, you're more empathetic. It's like that love is just coming right through you. Um, it certainly helps even like your own like moods and emotions. I mean, you just feel
It's
completely different.
because you move out of your head space and you move into your heart space. And that's what's really helpful in meditation for me too, is like I have all these thoughts thinking in my head and I say stop and I just move the energy to my heart. You can put your hand on your heart
Mhm.
and just feel. Stop thinking and just feel. So then that helps you get into that meditative place because you're not in your head, you're in your heart, and then the messages can come through, and then you enter the day coming from the heart space instead of the head space.
Beautiful. I wish if everybody did this, we'd be living in
Oh
a
my God, it
completely
would change
different
the
world.
world. It would
Yeah.
change the world. You know, those drivers honking at you, if they had meditated, they would probably not honk at you.
They
They
would
would be like,
never do that.
got something going on. It's all good.
You would not argue. You would never argue with
No.
anyone because you would feel so good. You wouldn't want to actually ruin that feeling. You wouldn't want to
Right.
tarnish it with negative energy or anything like that. And something happens when you start meditating. I think that's where there's a lot of questions. People are like, well, why would you meditate? You know, it lowers your blood pressure and like, all of those little things. But it also, for me personally, it's the only thing I've ever done that has made me feel whole and complete.
Oh,
It's the most beautiful feeling. You're just surrounded with that unconditional love and you feel great and you just want to be a positive light in the world, not even consciously. It's just how you show up because now you're tuned into something. You're tuned into you're tuned in to whatever you believe in. Higher self, God, it's flowing through you now and you can show up in a different way because you're living. I love that you said you're more tuned in with your heart than your head.
yes. That's the magic part of it.
Yeah.
Because when you're in your head, you're just in your own power, your own thought. Your thoughts are racing around and you can't receive any new information because your mind is like and once you shift down into your heart, you will still have thoughts that come through, but they're not stopping the meditative process. And they will still come through. I will say that too for people who are just starting out meditating that think they have to have a complete blank slate. You will still have thoughts that come in. Let them come in, welcome them, and let them move past. Don't try to capture them and think about them, try to solve those problems. Just let it pass through and then get back to your receiving place where you can hear the messages and feel in your heart. Just put your hand back on your heart. Think of a, I think of a white movie screen, just a blank screen. And then that helps me to clear my mind a little bit as well.
That's a really good tip. Having a
Mhm.
visualization of a blank screen. That's a really good idea. I'm going to try that one. Usually I just fall into the black darkness, and that works well for me. And that's when the pyrotechnics, sometimes
Yeah. Yes.
so freaking cool.
Yes. Yes.
And really, you can't mess it up. If you
No.
close your eyes, focus on your breath, just spend 10 minutes at the very bare minimum. You'll certainly feel different. If you can try doing that maybe for like a week straight, you'll really start to feel differently, I think.
Yeah. So cool.
Well, I absolutely love this conversation. I can't wait to do more of us just, chit-chatting about like it's like cosmic coffee talk.
I
Coffee talk with
know.
Krista.
I know it is. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I feel like we have some great stuff that is captured. And so often I want to put things into words and don't do it or, certainly can't capture the conversation. So this is really valuable to me to be able to look back on or share with people if they have some questions.
There's been a lot of wisdom you've stored up because you've had some really amazing wisdom bombs that you've shared, and it's been super valuable for me. And it's reminded me the importance of our spiritual connection and our connections with people that are like-minded, and to make time for those things.